Good afternoon. Welcome to the channel. Coming at you from a virtual winter wonderland. And today we're going to talk about roofs. No, not those kind with like asphalt shingles or tile or whatever. We're going to talk specifically about Galaxie roofs. This car here is a 62 500 XL. It is what is known in Ford speak as a box top, or what formal roof, as we would call it. So what got me thinking about roofs the other day and why I decided to make this video was just because it does seem there's a little bit of confusion, like all of the box top Galaxies are the same or very similar, and you would think 61 and 62 would be the same because they are very similar cars. They share front sheet metal, even though the rear is styled a little different. They lost the fins in 62. The dash is the same or very close. I was searching around on everyone's favorite auction site the other day looking for a passenger door window for this vehicle here. The previous owner's son shot this one out. This driver's side one is still in the door, but the regulator's broken, so there will be a video shortly coming on fixing that. But I do need the door glass, and I'd like to just find the complete door glass with the frame so I can replace that over there. There hasn't been any available that I've seen used on the internet. If you do have one, feel free, please email me at Jeff Hooper, that's Hooper, at FullSizeFord.com. If you have one of those, I'm definitely in the market. But I was looking through some ads, and there are some ads that show these quarter windows here. And they show for 61 and 62 a Ford Galaxie two-door hardtop. And at first I didn't think anything of it, and then I thought, wait a minute. Even though the 61 and 62 are very similar cars, I think the roofs are slightly different. And I'll show you how that is. Just look at the shape of this one here, and the way it kind of has this sharp edge right here that curves down and angles back. Sorry, got a little bit of snow over the last couple days, so let's brush that off. So that's kind of what got me started on this. And the Galaxie, which was introduced in '59 as kind of the upper trim of the Fairlane series, it was its own model, I believe. But so in 1959, the Galaxie was introduced, and it was a pretty radical departure from the '58 car. Just to kind of give some historical context, '58 was not a good year for the auto industry. It's what was known as the Eisenhower recession. The car sales across the board, especially for large cars, was way down. As we all know, history tells us that Ford decided a few years prior that they had needed a new car line and launched the Edsel for the '58 model year, which, had that been introduced at a different time, would it have succeeded? Maybe. We'll never know. But in 1959, Ford had a very different looking car than the '58 Ford, and was actually, the '59 Ford was a huge success for Ford. And going back to 1958, one of the successes that Ford did have in an otherwise dismal year was the success of the new 1958 Thunderbird. The 1958 Thunderbird was the first year that they put a back seat in it. Many purists in the Thunderbird realm say that the car was ruined at that point. Some say it was later in 1967 when they made it a four-door. But anyway, whatever you believe about that, the 1958 Thunderbird actually sold very well. Ford decided to take the success of that 1958 Thunderbird, and they incorporated that styling in that box top roof into the 59 Galaxie, which again was a huge sales success. The 59 Galaxie was styled by, I think the chief stylist was Joe Oros. Correct me if I'm wrong on that name, but that was the chief stylist, and they put the roof of basically the roof line with the thick C-pillar onto the 59 Galaxie, which made it a very elegant looking car. In fact, Ford advertising at the time said basically you could get 6-passenger Thunderbird styling with the new hardtop Galaxie. Interestingly enough, in 1960, with the success of the 59 Galaxie, Ford did not carry that roofline over into the 1960 two-door hardtops. All of the 60 two-door hardtops, and this is not a Galaxie, this is an Edsel Ranger, but it does have the same roofline. All of the 1960 two-door hardtops had this fastback roof with this thin pillar. Reason being for that is supposedly in 1960, the Galaxie was basically completely redesigned and was an all-new car. Apparently, Robert McNamara did not like the boxy design of the 59 and wanted a sleeker, more slimmer, plainer, space-age looking car for 1960. So the two-door hardtops all received the Starliner or fastback style roof. Here is a 1961 Starliner. You can again see its very thin pillar there. Now in 1961 is an unusual year, because in 1961, as I'll show you here in just a minute, the formal roof on the two-door hardtop was back. But the Starliner was also still available with the fastback roof. The Edsel, of course, the Ranger that I just showed a minute ago, that car was discontinued in 1960, so that car did not live on to 1961. But the Starliner did. 1961 would be the last year for the Starliner. Interestingly enough, Ford sold roughly, in 1960, two-door hardtops, which were Starliners, sold around 67,000 cars, somewhere around there. I'm not exact on that number. In the two-door hardtops, so about 67,000 cars. In 1961, like this one, and the Starliner is the car that is sought after today, they built less than 30,000. But they also built this car side by side with the formal roof two-door hardtop. Why they did that in 1961, I have no idea. If anyone knows, feel free to put it down in the comments below. If I know there's a lot of theories out there. If anybody knows the real reason why they offered both two-door hardtops and they did not offer the formal roof two-door hardtop in 1960, it would be really interesting to know. I know there's all kinds of stories out there about the whole NASCAR debacle. 61, these cars were competitive on the speedways. 62, the car was, the box top was introduced and the car was slower on super speedways. And it took till mid-year 63 to get a fastback back in the lineup. I did read something from a Ford exec or stylist, or I don't know, Ford bigwig, years ago, where they were talking about that, and he said that he had made the statement that NASCAR had nothing to do with the introduction of the 63.5 fastback Galaxie. But whether he's just not willing to admit that, or covering it up, or if it's true or not, I don't know. Any ideas? Again, please feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 1962, again, like the car we looked at earlier, was the box top design. This one is actually a two-door post. This is not a two-door hardtop, but this car here, one thing they did is they did still use this formal roof. in the two-door post. But they put chrome around here to simulate it looking like a two-door hardtop, even though it's not. Well disguised to even make the base model Galaxie look exquisite. So here again you can see we have two examples. This is a 1962 500XL two-door hardtop and a 1963 500XL two-door hardtop. Now this is an early 63. Still considered a box top. In mid-year, I believe in late December or January, I believe the fastback became available. And a lot of people say that was to make it legal for the 1963 Daytona 500. Again, I don't know if there's any official Ford documentation that says that that's true, but it did. And Ford finished 1, 2, 3, and 5 in the 63 Daytona 500, so there's that. But like I say, this is an early 63. As far as I know, I don't know this either. If you do know the answer to this, please put it in the comments below. In 1963, when the half-year model came out, the 500XL and 500 fastbacks, was this car discontinued? Did they not make any more of these formal roof two-door hardtops? I do not know the answer to that either. Over here, if we look, we can see this is the roof line that was used on the two-door hardtops from that 63.5 model on up. I know this is kind of covered in snow, but oh, we got a cat. Yay, keeps the mice at bay. But anyway, this would be the roof line of the mid 63 and 64 Galaxies. 65 would continue a fastback roof all the way through 67. 68 and 69 became more like the like what they called the sports roof, like the Mustang fastbacks, where the whole thing just slanted all the way down to the end of the trunk. So they're a little different, but Ford even put this is something that GM did as well. Even have the little raised area there to make it look like it's a convertible top that's got the little bow right there. Apparently people thought that they looked sleeker. So anyway, this is a 64 here, two-door hardtop with the fastback style roof. And now here we have the 1961 two-door hardtop. And this is not a Starliner, this is a Club Victoria. The Club Victoria was, I mentioned earlier that in 1960 they sold roughly 67,000 Starliners with the fastback roofline. In 1961, they sold half that, less than 30,000. The reason for that, I don't know. But they did sell over 70,000 of these two-door hardtops with the formal roof. Because again, the formal roof was available on the two-door hardtop. Now, in 1960, again, like I said, they did not offer the formal roof in a two-door hardtop, but they did offer. Is that even a word? No, it's not a word. However, they did offer that roof line, the formal roof or the box top, in a four-door hardtop. Just not in the two-door. I don't know why that was. Again, I would love to be enlightened. But now, going back to my eBay ads that I was looking at earlier, there are some ads out there that show this quarter glass for a 61 and 62 Galaxie. The 61 and the 62 Galaxie are different. The glass is not the same for this quarter glass. I showed you earlier how the 62 went down and then had a sharp corner and then kind of angled back, where this one is more rounded. So it is a different shape. I think one thing that may cause confusion on these, I believe the base where it attaches to the regulator is stamped C1AB on both windows, 61 and 2. But I think that's just because that's the stamping on the base. I don't think that has anything to do with the rest of the window and the shape. Because I have seen some 62 quarter windows, which also fits the 63 non-fastback two-door hardtop as well. So I believe that could be where some of the confusion comes from, since that's stamped C1AB. Some people may assume that that part fits both cars. However, it does not. Even though the 61 and 62 share many, many other components, they do not share the same roofline. As you can see, for 61, it's a little bit more rounded. It's not as sharp a contrast. So there you have it. So here the proof is in the pudding right here. This is a rear chrome trim piece from the rear quarter window of a 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 two-door hardtop. You can see, if I line it up here, it's not the same. See how this makes it more roundy right here? The 62, boom. 61, this is 62. And 3 box top non-fastback. So there you have the actual proof that the 61 and 62 quarter windows are not the same. And also, if you have a 62 or 63 box top, I do have these pieces available if you are in need. And also, just a couple more things I want to mention about these box tops. I mentioned the 59 Galaxie getting its roof from the 58 Thunderbird, the 58 to 60 Squarebirds. Beautiful cars. Love to have one. Now, that's not the first place that box top roof was used. We can go back a year before that to the 1957 Ford retractable or Skyliner. The 57 Skyliner also had that same roof with that box top, with that very thick C-pillar right here design. And supposedly that was done because they needed that thick C-pillar to hide the mechanism for the retractable roof. So we say, so it started with the 57 Ford. Well, no, it actually goes back further than that to the 56 Lincoln Continental Mark II. The Continental Mark II was supposedly supposed to get the retractable roof. It also has that thick C-pillar box top type design, but the Continental Mark II retractable never materialized. Supposedly, by the time they had to get that car into production, there was basically they just couldn't do it in time in 1956. But they had invested so much money into the retractable mechanism. In order to try to recoup their cost, they assigned that retractable roof to the Ford division, which was used from 57 to 59. Ford never did recoup their development money on that hardtop retractable system. They did continue to try to use that mechanism apparently in some of the soft top Thunderbirds and the early 60s Lincoln Continentals. They employed supposedly the same mechanism, but again, Ford never recouped their cost on the development of that retractable system. It was a money-losing endeavor because the cars that did use that system were never sold in high enough volume to justify it. So again, it really started with the 56 Continental Mark II. ended up with the 57, retractable, and then 59, we see it on the Galaxie. I've heard all of the stories of NASCAR and Rooflines, and everything was done for the super speedways back then. There's even the, I shared the story of the Ford executive that said that the NASCAR had nothing to do with the introduction of the 63 Galaxie, but we do know for a fact that in 1962, Ford produced a fiberglass-looking Starliner top to affix to a convertible Galaxie. It was called the Starlift. I believe Fred Lorenzen ran that in Atlanta in 1962, won the race, and Ford said, "You are never allowed to bring that to the track again." So there definitely was some, and supposedly that was a Holman Moody-inspired piece too, but they were backed by Ford. So Ford had involvement. Ford knew. I mean, it was also a fact that the 62 Galaxie was a few miles per hour slower on the super speedways than the 61 Starliner, which they had used before. So again, there's lots of lore, lots of stories, it would be interesting to see some actual Ford press releases. Maybe they're out there. Maybe they were part of the records that were destroyed in a fire years ago. That's why Marty Otto has no records for like pre-67 Fords, or a lot of them maybe were just discarded. It would be interesting to see some literature on that. So again, if you have anything to add to the story on these Rooflines, feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I particularly like all of them. I like the Starliners. I like the box tops, the fastbacks. I think they're all cool. So it does seem that even though we laud the Starliner today, and that's like the super desirable model, even though I like these too, I love these formal roof cars as well. It does seem that in 61, when both choices were offered, buyers opted heavily for this model over the Starliner. Maybe it was the Thunderbird elegance displayed on your family two-door hardtop or four-door hardtop. Maybe that had something to do with influencing people's decisions back then. Maybe it had to do with the young gentleman with a young family who really wanted a Thunderbird, and mom says, no, we need to get the Galaxie. It's more practical. And dad says, well, yeah, okay, I can get the Galaxie with the Thunderbird-looking roof and a two-door with a 390, 300 horsepower, same engine that's in the T-Bird. So, yeah, okay, Mom, you can have it your way. So I hope you enjoyed this short little tutorial on Galaxie roofs. I'm sure I left a lot of stuff out. I am not by any means like I love Ford history, but I would not consider myself a Ford historian, because historians are typically considered to be smart people, and I'm not one of those. I just call myself an enthusiast, basically, who likes these full-size cars. If you found today's video helpful, useful, like, subscribe. There's more coming. Hopefully warmer days will find us soon, so we can actually get back to working on some stuff and getting these cars back on the road. I want to really thank everybody for watching, supporting, subscribing. It means a lot to us and inspires us to do the next one. So, again, thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and God bless.